This is Bill for Sparky Channel, and today I'm going to show you how to make a 3-bend saddle. And my emphasis is going to be trying to get you to be able to do it without looking up any tables or apps on your cell phone or anything. So this is an obstruction. I've got a 6-foot piece of EMT conduit right here, and say you're going along and boom, you hit the obstruction and you got to go, oh, you got to jump over it. And this is a 2.5 inch obstruction, and we're going to clear it by 1/2 inch. So we're going to jump over this 3 inches. For a 3-bend saddle, you're going to have to make 3 bends. So that means you're going to have to make 3 marks on your pipe. The first mark on your pipe, you're going to make at the center of the obstruction plus the shrinkage. So you start right wherever your conduit starts. In my case, it starts with this fitting, and it goes into the fitting about 5/8 of an inch. So I have a screw right here that will signify the beginning of our conduit, and then we're going to measure over here to the middle of the obstruction. Not this side, not this side, the middle, the center of the obstruction. So if you go like that, that's 34 inches. So the middle of our obstruction is 34 inches. But this says plus shrinkage, because when you go over this pipe, your pipe's going to shrink. So the shrink is 3/16 per inch of height of obstruction. So we said we're going to jump up 3 inches. So 3/16 times 3. So that'll be 9/16. So we've measured this at 34, and then you add 9/16. So that's 34 and 9/16 is going to be our first mark. So 34 and 9/16 right there. Now that we've made the center mark, we need to make the 2 marks on either side of the center mark. And remember, it's 2.5 inches times the height of the obstruction. So that's 7.5 inches to each side of the center mark, and we're going to be making 2 more marks. So that'll be our 3 marks. So I've made the center mark at 34 and 9/16, and then the 2 outer marks are 7.5 inches on either side. And I've made my marks all the way around, and I've made them in pencil. Before we start doing the bending, I want to show you that the center mark will be lined up with what is called the rim notch right here. It's the only thing it's used for, the center of a 3-point bend. It's called the rim notch, and there's one on this side too. And that's what we're going to align our center mark with, the rim notch. This is the hook of the bender. When making the middle bend of a 3-point saddle bend, the hook of the bender can be pointed in either direction as long as your line is on the rim notch. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my middle mark on the rim notch. Right there, the middle mark's on the rim notch. And I'm going to bend this to 45 degrees, which is right there. Okay, we have 45 degrees. Then you leave it in the bender, and we're going to go down to the arrow, put it right there like that, and you're going to get this in the same plane. If you don't, you'll get what's called a dog leg. So we're right there. The outer mark is on the arrow. We're in the plane. And this one's going to 22 degrees. Okay. Now we're going to take this one, put it in the bender, get it in the right plane, get this lined up right with the arrow mark, right in the right plane, right there. we're going to go to 22 degrees again. All right. And we're going to put it down on the ground. Jeez, it came out good. So you can put it on a level to check it out. That looks pretty darn good. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this fitting right here. And this fitting over here. Okay, you can see I got the middle bend aligned with the center of the obstruction, and here's our other two marks over here. Okay, so the next thing to do is to use a little cleaner and clean off your pencil marks. Okay, you see I've cleaned off the pencil marks, and I think it looks a lot better that way. I think it looks a lot more professional. So there's your 3-bend saddle. So in review, your first mark on your pipe is at the center of the obstruction plus shrinkage. Okay, and the outer marks, the two outer marks, are 2.5 inches per inch of height of obstruction. So if you have 3 inches of obstruction, it's 7.5 inches on each side of the center line. And the shrink is 3/16 per inch of height of obstruction. Now, if you look on your ideal bender here, it's not on there. And it's not on my Klein bender handle either. So I actually wrote these things on my bender. It says 3-bend saddle, 2.5 inch per inch, 3/16 inch per inch of shrink. Here's a real nice table for 3-point saddle bends. And here we have the 3-inch obstruction, 9/16 shrinkage, and 7.5 inches between bends. And it will give you a link in my video description for it. It's best though to just memorize this stuff. Your work will be faster that way. So if you can just remember these simple rules, and you're using the 22.5, 45, 22.5 degree format, then you can make any 3-point saddle bend at any time without consulting any chart or app or anything. I'll put links in my video description for the Klein magnetic 25-foot tape measure with conduit bending tables, and for the Klein digital magnetic level. I'll also put links for Klein and Ideal conduit benders in the 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch sizes, both in aluminum and in ductile iron. And I'll put a link for the Klein full brim hard hat. I'll also put links for Klein kneeling pads, which really save wear and tear on your knees. Thanks, I hope this video was helpful.